What's up guys, Kudou here. Today we're going to be doing a very different kind of video, as you'll notice by the child's table I picked up from Goodwill. So we tried to do this a few days ago. I want to show off a few pieces of my video game collection. There were some people in my chat showing off some of their stuff, and it reminded me that there was a YouTuber that I used to watch all the time named Silent Rob who used to do that as well, and I went back and I rewatched some of his videos, and I found them pretty entertaining, so I wanted to go ahead and give it a shot myself. What we're going to do is we're going to go through some of my game collections, and then I'll show some collectibles and stuff I have afterwards, some of my special editions. Keep in mind, I'm not going to be able to show you guys everything. A lot of my stuff is in storage. This is mainly the stuff that I decided to bring with me, or stuff that I've been getting since I've been down here. Also keep in mind that this video is going to have very minor editing. I'm probably not going to edit out anything really. I might just add some background music or whatever. So, you know, this isn't meant to be something that you actually watch. Hopefully you don't anyways. Definitely get a video game or something to play in the meantime. I'm just going to be talking about some of my stuff, talking about where I got some of it, and giving a few quick words on some of the games that I've collected. So, without further ado, we know that I'm very long-winded, and this is going to be long enough as it is. Probably about 2 hours. I don't know exactly how long, but probably in that range. So, we should probably go ahead and get started. So, this case has all of my PS4 games and some of my PS3 games. You'll notice that I don't actually have the game boxes here. They're all in these little cases. The reason for that is because I live in a very small room. I'd say it's like 6 feet by 8 feet maybe. It's not a lot of room, trust me. So having it this way is a lot more ergonomical because I can just take the discs out, I can put them in these, and I don't have to worry about keeping a bunch of boxes around. Like, it doesn't seem like that much at first, but when you start getting 50, 60, 70 game boxes together, you need a place to put them. So I mainly just have these, and yeah, that's how I'm going to show them. Oh, wrong way. Off to a great start. So, first game here, Persona 5. I mean, what can you really say about Persona 5? It's the RPG that is so good that even people who hate RPGs have been playing it and loving it. Definitely the best Persona game so far. Schoolgirl Zombie Hunters has not even been in my PS4 yet. It looks so cheesy and so weird that I think I'm secretly gonna love it, but it's probably not a very good game. It's actually set in the Onechanbara universe, so very excited to see what happens here. Dragon Ball The Fighters. This is a very good game. It's very well made, but I'll admit that the more I put it in and the more I play it and practice it, the less I really like it. So it's definitely not a bad game, but I'm really starting to feel like this isn't for me. I might have to go ahead and just put this on hold until Cross Tag comes out, because that's a game I'm really excited for. Dissidia. Oh gosh. Oh, poor Dissidia. It's a great game trapped within an awful game. Not awful, okay, it's not a bad game by any means, but it is pretty mediocre for what it could have been, which is a shame. Honestly, I don't even try to get online matches in this anymore because it takes way too long. 10 minutes to wait in a lobby to get like a 3 to 5 minute match is just not worth it. Kingdom Hearts 2.8. I haven't actually gotten a chance to sit down and play this yet. The reason being, when I actually do sit down and play this, I really want to dedicate like a day to sitting down and playing it. I really want to mess around with the battle system and really get into it, and I just haven't had that kind of free time lately. Maybe this weekend or something I'll get into it, but I just haven't tried it yet because I really want to sit down and sink my teeth into it. Monster Hunter Worlds, it's probably the best game released so far this year. Honestly, this would be a shoo-in for Game of the Year if obviously we're getting Smash Brothers, so Smash Brothers is going to etch this out. And also, I have a feeling, alright, I know I'm going to sound like a crazy person, but I think wholeheartedly there is a chance, a small chance, that we might get Kingdom Hearts 3 this winter. And I know a lot of people are saying, no, Kudou, that's not going to happen. That's impossible. But I'm telling you, man, I've been a Square Enix fanboy my entire life. When there's a new Square Enix game come in, like, I shake. My ankles and my knees start shaking, kind of like an old man when he knows that it's about to rain. That's how I am, but with Square Enix games, okay? There's a chance. If we don't get it this winter, it's coming out early next year. I'm telling you guys. Jumpstar's Victory Versus. You guys already know my thoughts on this game. It's a really fun party game to bring out. It's got a lot of characters. Now that everybody's into JoJo, there are JoJo characters to play as. So, you know, it's a really good game to just bring out and hang out with people and play it. I bought the PS4 version because I have the PS3 version, the original that came from Japan, and I didn't really get to read much of the story. So I went ahead and picked this up. Honestly, I haven't dedicated as much time to it as I can. I've really been dragging my feet going through the story mode because I worked so hard to unlock everything in Jump Stars, man. It's really hard to force myself back through this game for like a 40-hour campaign, but I'll get to it eventually. Urawareru Mono. Got it this time. Yes, the first time I recorded this I couldn't remember the name. Urawareru Mono. I put it in and I installed it. I haven't actually played it yet. I do notice that there is a PS Vita game too with roughly the same name. I think this is Mask of Deception and the other one is the Mask of Truth, so we'll have to see how those two are connected. Star Ocean, Faithlessness and Integrity. Did I get that backwards? Yeah, it's Integrity and Faithlessness. Whoops. But I'm a huge Star Ocean fan. I haven't actually gotten into this yet though. This is one of the games I got when I went and bought like 6 games for my birthday, so I just haven't been able to touch it yet. Huge Star Ocean nerd though. I love it. Till the End of Time and Last Hope are 2 of like my favorite RPGs. And I really enjoyed the first 2 Star Ocean games on the PSP, but I just haven't gotten into this one yet. Looking forward to it though. Horizon Zero Dawn. This game shocked me with how much I like it. It is a very, very good game. Just running around hunting robot animals, it's a lot of fun. Really shocks me that this didn't get more awards last year. I guess Breath of the Wild kind of beat the crap out of it, but in my opinion, Horizon Zero Dawn is a really good game that needs more recognition. Hopefully we get a Horizon 2. Speaking of games that don't get talked about enough, Final Fantasy Type 0. I understand that this game has a little bit of a what would you say? People don't really want to give this game enough credit because it was a PSP game originally, and you know it's a port of a handheld game, so you can't really expect too much from it. But this game does not get the recognition it deserves. It's actually a really fun game. The gameplay is just so top-notch. It uses a sort of action system, and it's got a combat. It's got a counter mechanic. It's great. Normally when I stutter or something, I have to edit it out, but this time you guys get to hear every single time I stutter and say something stupid. So this game has a really great counter mechanic that makes the gameplay really fluid. It's one of the most fun combat systems that I think have been in any of the Final Fantasy spin-offs, and people just don't want to give it a shot because it was a handheld game first. You could probably get this game for like 20-25 bucks nowadays. Definitely recommend checking it out. It doesn't have the strongest story, which is weird to say for a Final Fantasy game, but there are like 13 different characters to play as, and obviously when you're splitting screen time among 13 different characters, it's going to be kind of a mess. But the gameplay is fun though. It's a really fun game to play. Valkyria Revolution. Have not heard a single good thing about this game so far. This is another one of the games that I haven't gotten a chance to actually try yet, but oh man, I have not heard anybody say a single good thing about it. I'm really hopeful though. I'm hoping that everybody's just out of their mind and it ends up being a good game, but we'll see. The Uncharted Collection. I'm actually a really big fan of the Uncharted series, even though I haven't played the 4th one now that I think about it. I'm going to have to rectify that sometime, but Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 are all really great games. I've beaten them multiple times on their hardest difficulty. They are so much fun, and they're so great. I even got my girlfriend to play one of them, and it's just a really great series. In fact, it's such a great series. I own the PS4 collection because somebody offered it to me at a swap meet for like 10 bucks, and I bought it even though I have all the PS3 games, so yeah, Uncharted is great. World of Final Fantasy, there's just a lot of really great Final Fantasy spin-offs that nobody gives any credit. This is one of them. It's a really cheesy game. It's very Saturday morning cartoonish. Let me put it this way. If you've ever watched an episode of Miraculous Butterfly, not Miraculous Butterfly, I'm so stupid. If you've ever watched an episode of Miraculous Ladybug and you've enjoyed it, you'll love the story in this game. It's just so cheesy and so Saturday morning cartoony that it's great. The combat in it is really great too because it's like a Pokemon game where you collect different monsters and you stack them up on top of each other and build little teams and stuff. Great game. This actually came out like 2 months before Pokemon Sun and Moon. So when I played Sun and Moon, my enjoyment of Sun and Moon was actually hurt by how great this game was. So if you ever see this somewhere, check it out. It's also on the PS Vita, so you know, if you ever get a chance to check it out on the PS Vita, it should be a lot better in a handheld. Atelier Rorona. Everybody knows that I'm a huge Atelier fan. I think Atelier is probably my favorite game series right behind Kingdom Hearts, which I know is a lofty claim, but they're just so addicting. If you don't know what Atelier is, it's a little hard to describe. It's a bit like, I'd say it's like an RPG that almost has like a puzzly vibe to it. Because what you're doing, right? Let me explain Atelier Rorona. Essentially, you work in an alchemy shop, and your master's really lazy, and they're going to shut down your shop unless you can prove that it's actually worth something. So what you have to do is every 3 months, the king of the kingdom that you're in gives you some kind of task that you have to fulfill. And you have to manage your time in completing that task, but also doing a bunch of extracurricular stuff. Like, you have to do small tasks to keep the town people happy, you have to raise money on your own, you have to explore so that you can get more materials on your own, you have to raise friendships with your companions and get them leveled up, you have to beat bosses, you have to manage your equipment. So it's pretty much like a time management game that's also like a Final Fantasy-esque RPG. It's really good. At least look into it. If you have a Vita, and your Vita just so happens to have, you know, some Henkaku on it, I know you've got PKGI if you do, okay? If you have a hacked Vita with PKGI, then check out Rorona and see if you like it. Rorona actually led us into Totori, and Totori is even better than the first one in my opinion. It's so good. In this one, you're playing as a Totoria, and she's trying to get to an island because her mom went missing there, and she's trying to find out what happened to her mom and if she's really dead or not. Really, really great story. And then that leads us into Atelier Maruru. The way these games work is they're in blocks of like 3. So this is known as the Arland series because this all takes place in a land known as Arland. So after this, the story starts over in a new kingdom. Atelier Maruru is actually the best of the 3 games. It's really rare. This is actually a game series where the games just got progressively better over the course of the series. So this trilogy right here actually just gets better the more you play it. It's amazing. I'm telling you guys, if you've never played an Atelier game before, there's a new one coming out soon. Now is a good time to get into it, especially if you have a Switch. Oh my god, they're bringing this to the Switch. Ah, I'm just so excited. You have no idea. Atelier Aisha, this is where they start the Dusk series. This is a really good game. I don't like it as much as I like the Arland series back here, but this is still really good. Eska and Logi, I only got about halfway through this game because it's got 2 different campaigns. So, I mean, I feel really bad because this is one of my favorite game series and I only got through half of it. I feel really bad about that, but I'm telling you, it's still really good. Now, Atelier Chali, of course, because I only got through half of the other one, I never actually played this one. And I know, I'm contradicting myself, but I'm telling you guys, it's still a really great series. Looking forward to playing this sometime. Kingdom Hearts 1.5, I already kind of gave away that Kingdom Hearts is my favorite video game series. 1.5 obviously had to have it. I love that I can play through the final mixes, and the only thing that sucks about this game is I actually really liked 358/2, and I was looking forward to what kind of graphics they would give it, and like seeing it all HD, but they turned it into a cutscene. But oh well, still a really great game to have. 2.8 I have as well. Again, I really hate that they're turning the games into cutscenes. I think this one had Recoded, which I'm not super angry about not getting to play Recoded again, because Recoded actually is the worst game in the franchise, but, you know, what are you going to do? Hyperdimension Neptunia. This is a very interesting game, and how I got it's really interesting too. So, where I grew up, we didn't have a GameStop. So we had to drive out about an hour or so to get to the closest GameStop. What we had was a place called Game World. And Game World was even worse than GameStop sometimes, if you can even believe it. But from Game World, I heard about this game, and it sounded really interesting. So I ended up getting my way to GameStop and getting a special edition. This game, it's I have very mixed feelings about this game. So, the actual story, if you don't know what Hyperdimension Neptunia is it's a story about the console wars, but each of the consoles is represented by a cute girl. that's really the story in a nutshell. So, the game takes place in a world called Game Industry. It's not subtle at all. And it's got all these different lands representing the different game companies. You play as the representation of Sega after Sega gets knocked out of the console war, which is Neptunia, which is her. And it's pretty much just a story about the console war. And there's a lot of really nice little like nods and inside jokes and stuff. Very, very funny game-related humor if you're into the game industry. So it's great for that, but at the same time, the combat in this game is some of the worst combat in an RPG ever. It's so bad that people actually didn't get into the franchise just because the combat in this game was so bad. Luckily, though, if you play the Rebirth version of this game, they actually replaced the combat with the combat they had in 2 and 3. So if you ever get a chance, man, like we talked about PKGI earlier, this is also on PKGI, you know, just between you and me if you want to check it out. And I'm glad we got that game, and I'm glad I got through it, because it led us to the masterpiece known as Atelier Mark II. Oh my god, I'm so dumb. Neptunia Mark II. I still have Atelier in the mind. I'm still excited for it. So Neptunia Mark II is, in my opinion, the best game in the franchise. The humor in this game is so funny. The main characters are just amazing. The story is actually really good, and it actually delves into some really deep and complex things. The main purpose of the story, or like the main focus of the story, is game piracy, and they actually bring up some really good points on both sides. It's such a good game. I'm so excited to talk about this on the channel one day. A couple of weird things we're gonna have to talk about with this game too, but we'll work through that. CFW Trick, I'm looking at you. Neptunia V. Neptunia V is okay. I don't like it as much as 2, but it's definitely better than the first one. It's sort of like a time traveling game thing, and it introduced what's her name? Pluto, I think. Oh my god, all I remember is that Neptune calls her Pluty. I can't remember her actual name. But anyways, it's a time travel joint. It's good. It's better than the first one, not as good as the second one. I haven't played V2 yet. Gonna have to get my hands on it soon. Final Fantasy 13. Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna go out on record here and say that Final Fantasy 13 is not as bad as everybody says it is. Is it a great game? No, it has a lot of really bad problems, and I'll get into that in a video one of these days, but here's my thing with Final Fantasy 13 and people's opinion on it. I feel like Final Fantasy 13's being of such a bad game was sort of a meme that got out of hand. I feel like some really big people like JonTron and Yahtzee came out and said a couple of bad things about it, and everybody just kind of took that and ran with it because they wanted to be like in the cool fan base. But a lot of people forget that JonTron and Yahtzee are mainly entertainers. Yahtzee is more of a critic than JonTron is, but I think people took the joke that this game is really linear and really bad and just took it a little bit too far without actually giving the game a chance. If you hate this game, I completely understand, but hate it for your own reasons, not because an internet critic said it was bad. Final Fantasy 13-2 tried to take all of the input from Final Fantasy 13 and use it to make a better game. In my opinion, it failed. I don't really like Final Fantasy 13-2 as much as I like the first one. Excuse me. Mainly because at least the first one was trying to tell a really interesting story. The 13-2 didn't even try. The story is really, really awful, and the characters are really bad, and it really just feels like you're walking around accomplishing absolutely nothing the entire game with Pokemon. That's the other thing. They added Pokemon elements. Not a fan. 13-3 Lightning Returns. My feelings on this are very complicated because in my heart of hearts, this is actually my favorite of the 13 games. The 13 series, actually, which is funny because Final Fantasy itself is a series, and 13 split off into its own series, but oh, interesting stuff. This is my favorite game in the franchise. Oh my god, I said franchise. Definitely not in the franchise. This is my favorite game in the 13 series, but I also acknowledge that from a technical perspective, it might be the worst game of the 13 trilogy. I think the game started at its best game and then got progressively worse, but this still is technically my favorite game because it includes a lot of elements that I really enjoy, like the costume changing to change your classes, and the times, and like the side quests and stuff. All that's great, but you know, I acknowledge that it's personal preference. Agarist War Zero. I actually own all 3 of the Agarist War games. The first one I don't have on PS3 because there wasn't a physical release for it. It was digital only. I do have the 360 version though. So if you don't know about the Agarist War games, the reason that they got big in the first place is because the first one came out with something called the Extremely Naughty Special Edition, and it's exactly what you think it is. It was a very sexualized special edition, and as soon as I saw it, man, you guys know your Kudou, I had to have that crap. So I went to GameStop and I asked about it. I was like, hey, do you guys have the Agarist War Special Edition? They were like, oh, I don't see it on the shelf. I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, really? It's the Extremely Naughty Special Edition. And then the guy laughs and says, I know exactly what you're here for. Gets a key, unlocks a cabinet, and pulls out 1 copy, the last one that they had of this game, and sold it to me. Even had to put it in a black bag because they weren't allowed to have it shown on the shelf. Oh, so good. Honestly, it wasn't even as bad as they hyped it up to be. It's very ecchi. That's about as far as it goes. Like, there's no nudity or anything on it, but it was still funny. Oddly enough, ended up being one of my favorite strategy games of the time. I don't know if it's aged very well, but it has a very unique mechanic called formation, where essentially, like, let's say you have a swordsman, and then you have, like, a mage. The swordsman is short range and can't target anybody, but if the mage can target somebody and they're in a formation, then you can actually have the swordsman hop over to the mage's target and attack for him. It led to some really interesting things, because you wanted to build a formation that sort of let all of your dudes connect to each other. Like, you could have your mage over here, and then have that mage connect to a different person, and then have that person to connect to a different person, and then all 3 of them can just sort of pummel one guy. It's really fun. And it also had another really unique mechanic that, oddly enough, is probably my favorite of the 2, in that you play the game through 5 different generations. Essentially, the first game is about this guy who dies, and then this goddess offers him a chance to come back to life, but in order to do so, he has to dedicate his life and the life of all of his children to following her wishes. So he does it, and when you get to the end of the first character's story, by the time you finish the game, you have to have romanced one of your party members. So one of your party members has to fall in love with you by the end of their story, and once they do, at the end of the game, they marry you, you have a child, and then you continue playing the game as that child in a brand new story that continues off from where the first story left off. It's a very interesting mechanic, and they kept it in this one too. Really interesting game. If you've never heard of it before, you can probably get it now for like $5 or $10. Recommend looking into it. The second one here, Agarist Zero, is still really good. I don't remember if I liked it more than the first one, but this is really good too. Agarist War 2, technically the 3rd game of the series. Very different. They changed pretty much everything. This is a completely different game with Agarist's name on it, essentially. I wasn't a big fan of the changes, but it looks nicer, I guess. I don't know. I really didn't like this game as much, and I didn't even end up finishing it, but it exists too. Mass Effect. This might surprise some of you, considering I'm such a story-based gamer, but I'm not a huge fan of the Mass Effect games. I'm really not. I don't really like sci-fi. I don't really like shooting. To me, in my personal opinion, Mass Effect is nowhere near as good as Knights of the Old Republic was, and I feel like they're kind of in the same camp. But I have the same feelings that pretty much everybody else has. Mass Effect 1 is a really great game. Mass Effect 2 is the best game in the series, and a masterpiece all on its own without the other 2 games. Mass Effect 3 has some really great, fun moments in it, but ends in a complete disaster. I mean, what else can you really say about it? I wish Andromeda hadn't happened so that we could maybe get this franchise off the ground again and maybe give it a second shot, but rip. Like I said before, I love Uncharted, so I've got the PS3 versions as well as the PS4 version of Uncharted. First one is okay. It's my least favorite in the series. The second one is my second favorite in the series. It's kind of a That's actually kind of where I stand on a lot of series. Like, the first one will come out, and I'll be like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the second one will come out, and I'll be like, oh my god, this is a masterpiece. They've completely mastered it. I love this game. And then the third one will come out, and I'll be like, oh, that's better than the first one, but not as good as the second one. But in this case, the third one is, like, it's tied with 2, almost. 2 and 3 are very, very close, but I like 2 a little bit more because I think the story is a bit more interesting. Not to say this is a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. It's so close between them, but the second one I like a little bit more. Final Fantasy X and X-2. Alright, guys. So we've got to talk about something. Alright, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. X-2 has the best combat system in all of Final Fantasy's history. I know, take a moment, soak it in. Just let it marinate in the truth for a little bit. I know some of you are very upset by that. I know some of you were thinking that 6 had the best combat or 9 had the best combat, and I know that revealing to you that X-2 actually has the perfect combat system is a lot of truth to take in at once. Go ahead and just take that truth in, and eventually you'll learn to accept it. X-2 was the perfect implementation of the ATB battle system. I am so sad that this was the last game that we had that really tried to do anything with the ATB battle system anymore and didn't change it. I don't think we'll ever get a true ATB battle system again, and it's a shame because this is where they truly nailed it. Everything else about the game sucks. The story definitely sucks in this game. The characters are... they're on the sucky side. They're not the worst, but they're definitely not good characters. And like the actual like flow of the game is pretty bad. But the gameplay, okay, the story sucks, but the game itself is awesome. 10 I don't really have an opinion on. It isn't like my top 5 Final Fantasies, but that's just because it's such a high quality. I really can't ignore the fact that 10 is so good. But I pretty much have the same feelings on it as everybody else. Ninja Storm. I love me some Ninja Storm. I think Ninja Storm is really fun. I know people will never recognize it as a true fighting game, but I can easily say it's one of my favorite fighting-ish series. Ninja Storm 3 is my favorite in the series. I think it's better than 4 in my opinion. Just because I think the reason I like this one so much more is because I love the story in this section of the game a lot more than I like the end of Naruto. I think the end of Naruto gets a little bit weird, but this game is the perfect balance. If you've never played a Ninja Storm game before and you're interested in Naruto, play Ninja Storm. Don't watch the anime, don't sit for 180 hours of your life and waste your time with the actual show. I actually think it's more than 180 hours. It might be a lot closer to 300 hours. It doesn't matter, okay? Just play Ninja Storm. They turn all the best moments of the show into epic boss fights that you can actually play. It's definitely worth it. Ninja Storm Generations. Oh boy. Very weird game. Very strange concept. This is where we got Mecha Naruto. What do you say about Ninja Storm Generations? It's good for what it is. It's actually got a really nice story mode that nobody really acknowledges. I love the story mode in this because not only does it follow the story, but it also gives you the inner dialogue of the characters you're playing as they're going through. One of the most heartbreaking being when Jiraiya is fighting Pain. Like, you actually get to hear his thoughts and emotions as the fight is going on and before and after. So it's worth playing for that. And Killer Bee's rap. Oh my god. So Killer Bee's story in this, right, is he just goes through and beats up the most popular characters in Naruto and then forces them to become backup dancers for his rap group and then raps about how he's the best character in all of Naruto. Definitely a great game for that. It's just not a very serious game. So this is probably the most interesting disc in my collection. You might notice that this is .hack related. .hack used to be one of my favorite franchises. The franchise is dead now, pretty much. This is a movie. It's a Blu-ray movie of the last .hack movie that was ever released. And if you put it in a PS3, then not only is it a movie, but it also turns into a .hack fighting game called .hack Versus. The coolest idea for a movie tie-in ever, because, you know, you can just put it in a Blu-ray player and watch the movie, or you can put it in a PS3 and play a pretty sick fighting game. The story of the fighting game only takes like 5 or 6 hours to beat. It's not very long. It's a DVD bonus feature. Like, you get a DVD bonus feature out of it. And the combat system is really, really solid. It's probably the best of the Soul Bandai Ninja Storm-esque fighting game genre. But there's only like 5 or 6 characters to play as, and that hurts the game significantly. But again, it's just a bonus feature, so you can't expect a whole lot from it. But gosh darn it, I love this game. All 6 of the characters play really differently from each other, and it's just a very unique game. I'm really glad to have this. Oh, and if you want to know what I think of the movie kind of sucks. Let's all be honest with each other. It was cool to see at first, but every time I watch it, it just gets a little bit worse. So that's it for my PS4 games and most of my PS3 games, but we are nowhere near finished, friendos. This is the briefcase that I keep the majority of my games in. Oh, so let's get started. 3D Dot Heroes, great game for the time. It was a really cool homage to classic Zelda games. I don't think it holds up very well today. I think there's a lot better Zelda clones out there than this. Armored Core 5. This used to be, I want to say used to be one of my favorite like games to play. Of like the mecha games, this is definitely at the top of my list. This is a classic mecha game. It's not like the other Armored Core games where you're in like a really fast Gundam Wing style robot, but what you do is you build a robot, you get a team together, and like you actually move through a battlefield in these giant war machines, and like you brace down for big attacks. 1 second. Sorry, had to sneeze. Anyways, you like hunker down for big attacks, and it's just this huge war zone with bullets flying everywhere, and you actually feel the weight of your robot in this. It's kind of like the Colossus in Shadow of the Colossus, where you actually feel like you're in a big war machine fighting against other war machines. That style of game just isn't very popular, and it sucks for me because I love this style of game more than I like traditional robot fighting games. So yeah, we'll probably never see a game like this again, but I really wish we would. Alpha Protocol. This, my feelings on this are so weird. I remember playing this, and I remember beating it. I remember specifically beating this game because I talked about the ending with somebody, but I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember any of my choices. I don't remember what the gameplay was like. I seriously blocked everything about this game out of my mind, which I guess shows you how much I liked it. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I used to be a really big Assassin's Creed fan. When it jumped to the PS4, I actually sort of stopped playing it altogether. It's not like for a specific reason. It's not like I said, oh, the Assassin's Creed sucks now on the PS4, I'm not going to play it. I actually don't have a problem with any of the Assassin's Creed games. It's just I didn't get a chance to get the first one that came out on the PS4, and then they just kept coming out, and I never got a chance to catch up, so I'm still really behind. Assassin's Creed Revelations, better than Brotherhood, but, you know, it's Assassin's Creed Revelations, okay? What else do you want me to say? It's a good game. Bakugan Battle Brawlers, okay, look at this game right here. Don't laugh, this game is hella fun. It's so good. You guys have no idea. I can see you laughing at me. I know you think I'm crazy, but I'm dead serious. This is a fun game to play at a party. For those of you who don't know what Bakugan is, it's essentially like the marbles equivalent of Beyblades, where, okay, you have these monsters, right? And they're rolled up into little balls, and like you shoot them, and they roll onto these little magnetic cards, and then they turn into the monsters by standing back up. And this video game based on it is so cool, because you shoot your Bakugan out, right? Like you flip your controller like this and it shoots the Bakugan, and then all of the levels are set up like theme parks, where you have to roll around and gather power bonuses and like build up speed, and then you can like, it's sort of like a pinball table, but you can like roll around it. Oh my god, it's so much fun with other people, I'm telling you guys. You can get this game for like 50 cents nowadays. If you ever see this game, listen to me, it is a fun game. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, and don't feel ashamed for playing it. Batman Arkham Asylum. Batman is my favorite superhero of all time, but believe it or not, I'm actually not a huge Arkham Asylum fan. Not Arkham Asylum fan, sorry, I should rephrase that. I'm a fan of Arkham Asylum, but I'm not a huge fan of the Arkham series. Arkham City is okay. I definitely didn't like it as much as Asylum. It wasn't quite as good in my opinion. Then like Arkham Knight and Arkham Origins I never even tried. They just never really appealed to me at all. I don't know. They're okay. This one is definitely like really great for what it was, but I'm just not a huge fan of the series. Beyond Two Souls, I'm pretty neutral on this game. It was okay to play through once. I'll probably never play through it again. I wouldn't mind showing it to somebody who wanted to check it out, but it's okay. I liked Heavy Rain a lot more than this, and I'm definitely looking forward to Detroit. Detroit is going to blow the crap out of this game, I'm telling you. Borderlands 2. I don't know where my Borderlands 1 is. I know I own it. It's probably in one of these boxes over here somewhere, and I don't feel like looking for it, but Borderlands 1 was really good. Borderlands 2 was much better. Borderlands, the pre-sequel, I wasn't crazy about it. I didn't even finish it. I didn't even beat this game, to be completely honest. It just felt like more Borderlands 2. And even though I like Borderlands as a general rule, I'm not super into it. I think Borderlands is one of those series that you really have to play with other people to enjoy. And I played through all of them by myself, so I didn't really get as much satisfaction out of them. Although we did play Borderlands 1 on stream. Oh, subpar. Subpar, you got cheated, buddy. I'm sorry. We'll have to try it again one day. Dark Souls. Believe it or not, I'm actually not the biggest Dark Souls fan. Not to say that it's a bad game or that I don't like it. I actually have fun with all the Dark Souls games. I've got Dark Souls 1 here, and then I've got 2 and 3 on my computer, and I have Bloodborne on my PS4. They're fun. They really are, and I like playing through them, but I've never beaten a Souls game, and honestly, I don't feel really that bad about not having beaten one. And it's not that I can't. I'm not saying that they're too difficult for me to beat, but I'm saying that at some point in a Souls game, I always hit a point where I'm just not having that much fun anymore. Where like I'm actually starting to get like really bored of just hitting the same part over and over and over again, and I just want the story to progress, but you've got to play everything really carefully and go really slowly, and I always just kind of get bored. That's pretty much where it stops. I love the way the game plays, I love the way the game looks, the atmosphere, the monsters. Bloodborne is the farthest I've ever gotten in one of these, but I've never beaten one, and I'll probably never will. Dead or Alive 5. Dead or Alive has one of my favorite combat engines in any fighting game. And I know everybody's gonna play off the meme, like, oh, Kudou's a giant pervert, he just likes it because of the tits. Hey, the tits are just a bonus, okay? I legitimately think that this game has some of the most solid fighting game mechanics ever. I love the counter system, I love the way all the characters play. I will say, though, that I played Tekken 7 not too long ago, and I think Tekken 7 might actually take the spot as my favorite fighting game, but for right now, Dead or Alive 5 is definitely up there. Deception 4. Didn't get very far in this game, but it's a very interesting game. I love the concept. Not so much the execution, but the concept is great. Essentially, like, you're this demon princess, and these heroes are trying to invade your mansion. So what you have to do is you have to run around and set up traps, and then like the goal of the game is to like set up these really big elaborate Home Alone style traps and get these guys flooding in to fall into your traps and kill themselves. It's a lot of fun, but I didn't get very far. Destiny. I absolutely can't stand this game. I think Destiny is so boring. It was so bad. I regret having this game in my collection, honestly. The only reason I even got into it was because my friends got into it and I wanted to play it with them, and I didn't even get a chance to play it with them. So bad. To be fair though, Destiny 2 was an improvement. I do enjoy Destiny 2 quite a bit, but Destiny 1 is really, really bad. Disgaea 4, my second favorite Disgaea game, even though I will say for the record I haven't played all the Disgaea games. Disgaea 1 is my favorite, Disgaea 4 is my second favorite, Disgaea 5 is technically my third favorite, I guess, but those are the only 3 Disgaea games I've put a lot of time into. I played a little bit of Disgaea 2, not too much, but a little bit. and I've never touched Disgaea 3 before, so take that with a grain of salt, but definitely up there. Valvatores and Fenric definitely steal the show here. They're such fun anime characters, and you just keep playing the game more and more and more just to see what they do. It's great. Disgaea, oh my god, I'm still talking about Disgaea. DJ Hero 2. I love the DJ Hero games, I don't care what anybody says. I think they're better than Guitar Hero, but I also acknowledge that it's probably just because being a DJ appeals to me more than being a rock star. I wish there was a bit more techno and a bit less rap in these games, but overall, I think they were pretty okay. I definitely wouldn't recommend them to other people, but I have fun with them. DMC Devil May Cry. DMC Devil May Cry. I don't like this game, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, Kudou, you're a hipster, you just don't like it because they changed Dante, and you're angry about them changing Dante, and oh, the silver hair, the silver hair. I actually just don't like this game. Even if they had kept Dante the same and kept everything the same, I don't like this game. The story is really bad, the characters are really forgettable, the boss fights aren't that much fun, there's a lot of awkward jumping puzzles, the combat feels slower. Nothing about this game is anywhere near as good as any of the original Devil May Cry games. Even 4 somehow. How do you make a Devil May Cry game that's not as good as 4? I don't know, but they managed it. I can guess why there isn't a DMC 2. Let's just put it that way. DMC, there will never be a DMC 2. Dragon Age Origins, one of my favorite games on the PS3. Might even be my favorite game on the PS3 now that I think about it. I think Dragon Age Origins and Star Ocean Last Hope kind of fight for the spot of my favorite PS3 game. And then Oblivion's up there somewhere too. This is one of the greatest RPGs of all time. If you've never played this game before, definitely get into it. It seems like a really typical, just like orcs and goblins, J.R.R. Tolkien sort of game, but it gets really deep, and I have a lot of fun with it. Dragon Age 2, I know that as a community we've all decided that this is the worst game ever made and we're supposed to hate it. I don't hate it though. I don't think it's a great game. It's definitely not Dragon Age Origins, okay? I acknowledge that this game is nowhere near the masterpiece that this game was, but if you look at this game in its own right, I don't know, guys. I don't hate it. I don't have a lot of problems with the stuff everybody hates. Like, everybody gets mad that this game takes place in a city, and it's just like the one city and then areas repeating over and over again. But I think I like the fact that it takes place in one city, because you actually, like, as time progresses, you actually get a feeling that, like, you understand the city, and, like, you start being able to remember your way around the city and stuff, and it's really fun to see how the city changes based on your choices and actions. So, I don't know. Not a great game, but I actually kind of like it, even though I'm not supposed to. Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit. If you were wondering why they never made a Budokai 4, this essentially is Budokai 4. It plays a lot like the classic Budokai games, but they added a couple of really neat things called like dramatic finishes and stuff. It's a 2D Dragon Ball Z fighting game that has some really flashy moments. It's just really solidly made. Probably not as good as DBZ Fighters, of course, but if you're really into the old Budokai style of games, might want to check this out. I think the only reason they didn't call this Tenkaichi is because they were using the Tenkaichi logo for Ultimate Tenkaichi, which is not a good game. Dragon's Dogma. Love this game to bits. Didn't finish it though. I put so much time into this. I think I sat down for like 30 hours and really, really sunk my teeth into this game. And then I ended up not finishing it. That's the weird thing about me, honestly, is I can get really far into a game and I can be really invested into a game and then just out of nowhere put it down and never pick it up again. 1 second, gotta take a drink. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so good. They started selling Pure Leaf sweet teas at the dollar store. So happy. Dream Sea Club. This is a weird one. Honestly, don't be deceived by how simple the front looks. This is pretty much it. So, Dream Sea Club is this game where your main character hallucinates a hostess bar and then goes to the hostess bar in his head. If you do not know what a hostess bar is, I'll explain it very briefly. A hostess bar is a bar you go to where you can pay girls to be really nice to you. And that's it. That's what a hostess bar is. To be honest, I get it. I completely understand wanting a service like that. I actually think it's a really cool service, but I also understand why people think that's so weird. It's not a sexual thing. It's not a sensual thing. It's not like a you go there and you pay them to have sex with you. It's just a thing where like you pay them to play like checkers and chess with you and sit and talk to you and listen to stories about your life. So in this game, it's essentially just like you pick a girl and then like you essentially just have a date with her. You can buy special food for you two to eat together. You can pay to play special games with them and stuff. And it's got some really over-the-top like fan servicey moments. Obviously, like if you feed the girl a banana, it's really, really suggestive. But you know, it's a game. It's not a game you sit down and you play for like 4 or 5 hours at a time. You don't waste an entire day playing it. But honestly, I like to pull this game out and just play it for like 30-40 minutes at a time. You know, just try out a different girls, see what new scenes and stuff I can get. And you know, there's so many different types of girls in this game. You've got the nerdy librarianish chick. You've got the sexy cougar. You've got the sort of like buff muscular girl. You've got the lolly if you're into lollies. You've got the tsunderes, the yanderes. You've got everything you need in here. It's pretty fun for what it is. Oh, Skyrim. This is a really niche game. You've probably never heard of Skyrim before, but it was essentially like this game released in this little series called The Elder Scrolls. I liked it. It was pretty good, you know, for what it was. It's sad that this game didn't catch on and more people didn't play it. I'm kidding, of course, okay? Skyrim's great, has the best combat in the entire Elder Scrolls franchise, but I gotta admit, I like the setting of Oblivion more than I like this game. Call me a stickler, call me a contrarian, but I still think this is a great game. But Oblivion, I just have a little bit more fun in. It's close, though. Okay, it's very close. If we had everything in Skyrim that just takes place in Oblivion's setting with Oblivion's story, we would have the perfect Elder Scrolls game. The Evil Within, really fun horror game. The beginning of this game got me really psyched. I hit a point in the game where I think I was just like out of bullets, and it was just so hard for me to progress. I decided to just give up on the game entirely. So I'm a bit of a wimp, but I really did enjoy this game, and I'm looking forward to playing Evil Within 2. Eye of Judgments. This is a really great gimmicky little thing. Essentially, it's a card game, but you play with physical cards, and you put them on a mat in front of a camera, and the cards come to life on the screen. Really fun little gimmicky game. There's really like no features or anything to it, but you know, if you have a friend to play with, this could be a fun game to play. Fallout 3, great game. I still laugh to this day because Fallout 3 came out and I said, this is a good game. And then Fallout New Vegas came out and I said, wow, this is even better than Fallout 3. And everybody I talked to said, no, Fallout New Vegas sucks. It's too simple, and it's the story's not good, and the gameplay's not good, and all this other kind of bullcrap about how New Vegas wasn't as good as 3. And I was like, I'm telling you guys, I think New Vegas is better than Fallout 3. And everybody's like, no, New Vegas sucks. And now, today, people are talking about how good New Vegas was. What? The entire internet talked about how awful New Vegas was the entire time I was saying it was good, and now everybody just wants to say that it was good. Well, you guys. Fear. I like this series a lot, actually. I'm not going to come out and say it's like the best horror series, and I don't even think it's that scary, but just as a shooting game, it's actually pretty fun. I like it. I like the element of Alma sort of chasing you around and stuff. It's good. I like it. Fear 2 is okay. This is a pretty decent game too. I have Fear 3 somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Huh. Must be in another case with my Borderlands 1. But I do have all 3 of the Fear games, and I do think all of them are pretty good. Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, hang me at the stake, guys, but I'm not the biggest Grand Theft Auto fan. It is fun to just sort of like chill in it for like 2 or 3 hours, just seeing what kind of mayhem you can cause, and you know, it's kind of fun, but I'm just the kind of person that really needs something to sort of strive towards when I'm playing a game. Like I can't really just sit in a sandbox forever and not do anything. I really need something like Infamous or something where it's like, okay, I can sit and I can screw around for a bit, or I can go and collect stuff, but then I get a really great story segment too, and you know, I get a good boss fight or things like that. And I'm not saying Grand Theft Auto is bad for that, I'm just saying that I don't like it as much. Still fun though, still a lot of fun. Hitman Absolution, I didn't play much of it, to be completely honest. I love the Hitman games. I think they're really cool, but I suck at them so bad. I'm so bad at the Hitman games, and I don't want to be. They're so fun. I love the idea of them, but I'm just not good at them, and eventually I just get frustrated and quit a lot of the time. Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, these are both really good games. I feel like they get hyped up a little bit. I'm not saying they're bad by any means. Like, they are still really, really great games, and I still have fun with them to this day. But I just don't know if they're necessarily the Citizen Kanes that everybody remembers them being. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing something. Injustice Gods Among Us. This was a pretty okay game. I'm really not a fan of Mortal Kombat, but this was a good game. I felt like they did a good job taking the Mortal Kombat framework and turning it into something unique, so it was good for that. LA Noire, you guys know I love detectives, you guys know I love solving mysteries, so personally I thought this game was really fun. I thought the facial animation thing was a really cool idea. I will agree with everybody else though that the facial animations give away a lot of the game. It's really cool that the characters can act out how they're feeling and stuff, but because they have to look so distinct in each of their answers, like if a character is lying, then they have to look like they're lying. So it's really easy to get through this game. There's really no challenge at all to solving the mysteries, but it's still a fun little experience that I enjoyed. I really want to get this game on the Switch. Metal Gear Rising, I didn't play this game at all. I ended up buying it because I went through this phase, right, where I was like, I'm gonna go through all the Metal Gear games. So I bought this game to get ready for it because it was on sale, I think for like a Black Friday thing. To this day, I still haven't played a single Metal Gear Solid game. I own all of them. I own Metal Gears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Peace Walker, and some of the PSP games, like legally, not even like as ROMs. I like legally own them, and I didn't play them. I don't know why, honestly. I'll have to get some time together to play them sometime. But it looks fun. It looks okay. Raiden looks okay. I don't know why people hate him so much. Mugen Soul Z. I really didn't get very far in this game, but it is an okay game. It plays a lot like Neptunia. I think they just sort of ripped some of the same battle systems and stuff out and used it, but it seems okay. There's a really fun little like bath washing mini game thing. I don't remember it too well. I played this game forever ago, but it's okay. I didn't end up beating it, but it is an okay experience. Persona 4 Ultimax. I had the original Persona 4 Arena, but I think I sold it at some point. This is just a better game. In all honesty, like, there's no reason to have the first one if you had this one. It's kind of like owning both the city is. Like, why would you do that to yourself? It's fun. I really enjoy it. It's probably... I don't think I like it as much as BlazBlue, personally, but it's still a really fun series. And any game where you can play as Yosuke is a good game, so 10 out of 10. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. I think this is a fun game. I don't care what anybody says. Is it Smash Brothers good? No, of course not, you dummy. It's not Smash Brothers good, but this is a fun game on its own. And, you know, my friends will sometimes ask to play this whenever I go back to my hometown, and we play it, and we have a good time. I don't know what everybody's problem with it is. Lack of characters is something that sort of hurts this game a little bit. I wish there were more characters to choose from, but overall, I think it's fine. I think it's good. I think everybody just wanted this to be Smash too badly, and then when it wasn't, they got disappointed. Portal 2, I used to have the orange box, but I sold it. I mean, what can you say about Portal at Portal 2. They're masterpieces. These are the actual Citizen games of gaming. They're so funny. They're so much fun to go through. What do you say about Portal? Honestly, they're really great games. Very engaging puzzles, very unique use of the Portal system. Personally, the only thing I disagree with on people is I actually do think Portal 2 is better than Portal 1. The ending to this game literally had me in tears. Like, I'm not gonna spoil it just in case there's like one person out there who hasn't played it, but they do something really clever at the end of the game that's sort of, that it's a callback to something that happens earlier in the game. Like, you have to really remember what the game was talking about to beat the last boss, because it references something very huge, and then once you figure it out, like, your eyes start watering up, and then you do it, oh my gosh, and then it gives you a really great ending. I love this game. I have a feeling we won't ever see a Portal 3. I know that there was like a Portal bridge building thing that came out recently, but I haven't even looked into it at all. It doesn't look Portal at all. It looks like they used the Portal assets to make a little Steam-like game. But anyways, amazing. Simply amazing. Prince of Persia Trilogy. I love this series a lot. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite game series, but Prince of Persia Sands of Time is one of my favorite games of all time. Prince of Persia 2 and 3 I didn't like as much, just like everybody else out there. Like, nobody really liked Prince of Persia 2 and 3 as much as the first one, but Sands of Time is still a masterpiece, and I still love it to this day. Resident Evil 5, probably my least favorite of the Resident Evil mainline series. Sorry, it's not because they're black, it's just because the game's not as much fun. Sheva's an idiot, and the limited inventory spaces, it's just not as much fun to me. Resident Evil 6, I know, guys, I know, the fan club says we're supposed to hate Resident Evil 6. I don't. I don't hate Resident Evil 6. I think it's an okay game. Is it the best in the series? No, of course not. It's not the best in the series. In my opinion, the best Resident Evils are 4 at the top of the list, and then 2, 3... I think actually it's 4, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, in my opinion. And then the 7th one probably needs to go in there somewhere too. Maybe 4, 7, 2, 3, 1, 5, in my opinion. And then, oh, I left 6 out there at the time. One more time. 4, 7, 2, 3, 6, no, 3, 1, 6, 5. I'm not doing it again, guys. Okay, gosh darn it. You guys get it. Resonance of Fate. Nobody has played this game. Everybody should have played this game. Resonance of Fate, if you call yourself an RPG fan and you've never played this game before, rectify that problem. Don't listen to what anybody says about this game being really weird and niche or whatever. This game will blow your mind if you're an RPG fan, because they take the RPG system and they turn it into this high-octane, fun battle system that I will never forget. This game is so much fun to just go back and play, and it's funny. It's one of the funniest games I've ever played. Like, we're over here talking about how funny Portal is. Resonance of Fate is almost, I would say, like, if Portal 2 is like a 10 out of 10 on the funny scale, Resonance of Fate hits like a 7 or an 8, because it's really good. It's a very funny story with a very likable cast of characters. If you will not try out this game, at least go on YouTube after this and look up some of the gameplay and the opening movie, okay? Gameplay, opening movie, I'm telling you, this is a game you should be looking at. Saints Row 4, now if we're going to talk about going into a game and just screwing around, I like this much better than Grand Theft Auto. This is such a fun game to screw around with because the story doesn't take itself very seriously. It's just a game where you go around naked and you beat people together with floppy dildos. That's Saints Row 4, and you know what? That's some good all-American fun right there. Sly Collection. So, of the old, like, PS2 era platformers like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank and stuff, Sly is my favorite of them because obviously he's a thief. I think thieves are really cool. I've really romanticized the idea of being like a thief and pulling off a heist. But anyways, this is my favorite of them. I like them, but I'm just not really big into that genre. I'm more of a JRPG kind of guy, unfortunately, but if I'm gonna go back and play a PS2 era, if I'm gonna go back and play like a PS2 era platformer game, well, to be honest, I'm gonna play Prince of Persia, but this is the second, okay? This is the second to Prince of Persia. Alright, Sonic All-Stars Racing Transform. This is a really fun game. It's one of my favorite kart racers of all time. It plays a lot like Diddy Kong Racing back in the day. Really fun game. If you've never got a chance to give it a try, there's a new racing game coming out soon, I think, but you could definitely try this game out. It's a lot of fun. It's not just a Mario Kart clone. It beat the crap out of Mario Kart when it came out, in my opinion. Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection. I'm really not much of a retro gamer, to be completely honest. I did play games back then. Like, my very first system ever was the original Game Boy, and then I got myself a Sega Genesis. But I mean, I'm just not that big into those styles of games. But that being said, I do like to go back and play some of the classics every now and then. The original Sonic games, of course, are on here. I think Alex Kidd is on here. Comic Zone might be on here. I like them sometimes, but in short bursts, okay? I'm not a huge retro gamer, but in short bursts, they can be fun. Soul Calibur 5. I like the Soul Calibur series a bit. I don't really like the combat in them, which is weird to say because it's a fighting game series, but, you know, what are you gonna do? I like the story of Soul Calibur because I like the idea of these two swords sort of, like, clashing, and one representing, like, light and one being darkness, and it's cool. I like it. It's just not one of my favorites. South Park Stick of Truth. My parents didn't let me watch South Park growing up, and honestly, like, at that point, kids would just, like, sneak into the living room at night and watch it anyways, but since my parents were so against it, I just never really got an urge to go back and watch it, so I didn't understand a lot of the references that they were making, but just as a fighting game, not fighting game, but just as an RPG on its own, I think the fighting in this game is really solid, and I think the gameplay is really good. I think it's aesthetically really nice looking. Honestly, I think if I were more into South Park, this would have been one of my favorite games. I actually own a copy of Fractured But Whole on Steam, I think. I'm gonna have to check that one out too. Valkyria Chronicles. We all know about the Valkyria memes, man. We all know about this one. Oh boy. I love this game to death, but I just can never get it finished. What a shame. For those who don't know what Valkyria Chronicles is, it's like sort of like a World War II-ish game with anime characters where, like, it's got sort of like tactical strategy gameplay, but it's mainly like a shooting game. Pretty fun. Vanquish. I don't like shooting games, but I love me some Vanquish. It's so fun, it's so fast-paced. Love this game to death. How have we not gotten a Vanquish 2 yet? How has it not happened? I don't understand. Play this game, crank it up to the hardest difficulty, and enjoy your day off, okay? Just get up one morning, eat a huge breakfast, and you're just gonna sit, play this the entire day. Platinum Games just keeps throwing out the hits, and this is one of them. Watch Dogs, when it came out at first, I actually didn't mind it as much, but looking back on it nowadays, it's just really clunky to get back into and try and play nowadays. I don't know why, honestly. It's not awful, and I didn't get on the hype train like everybody else did, so it's not like I'm that disappointed with the way it turned out. I liked it a lot when it first came out, and I don't like it as much now. I haven't played Watch Dogs 2 yet, but I've got to try it out. White Knight Chronicles 2. White Knight Chronicles is essentially Xenoblade. If you liked the combat in Xenoblade, then there's really no reason you wouldn't like White Knight Chronicles 2. One other thing I've got to say about White Knight Chronicles 2 is, first of all, it comes with the first one, and the story and characters in this game are some of the best, like, in an RPG like this that I've ever seen. It's just so funny, and, like, it doesn't take itself super seriously, but when it does take itself seriously, there's, like, some weight. You play the first game in a very interesting way because you don't play as the main character. The main character is this completely other character. You create a character to play as that character's sidekick, and you're sort of playing the game like second-person perspective, which is not something that video games normally do. And it turns out really, really good in White Knight Chronicles. This game also used to have an online service where you could go and do like sort of MMO-style raids with people to get gear. And that was really fun too, but I'm pretty sure the service has been shut down for a long time now. Really great game. If you ever see this game for less than $10, I actually recommend you pick it up. XCOM, Enemy Unknown. Oh, this game is a doozy. It's really, really good, but I've never beaten it before. I'll usually get, like, I think to like the halfway point, and then something will just go wrong. Like, I won't have built my weapons up high enough, or I won't have built the right kind of technology, and then I just get just demolished. And there's nothing I can do about it, and I have to restart the entire game. So I've never beaten it, but it is a really fun game to pop in and play every now and then. Zone of the Enders, go ahead and crucify me for this, but I'm not really that big a fan of Zone of the Enders. It's not a bad game by any means, but I just don't get into it. I don't think the story is that interesting. I don't think the gameplay is that interesting, but you know, it's whatever. It's an okay game, but average is like the only word I can use for it. So, onto my PS2 stuff. By the way, I know you might be thinking, oh my god, you've got so much PS3 stuff, you must be like a PS3 fanboy. I assure you, at some point in each of my consoles generations, I've had a collection this big for all of them. But when I was younger, I didn't really understand the value of my stuff, so I used to sell my stuff like crazy, or I would break my stuff. I wouldn't say I was spoiled per se, but I definitely didn't appreciate the value of a lot of my stuff. So a lot of my stuff either got sold or broken. I started taking care of my stuff now, but I still sell my stuff every now and then, so my collections come and go. And I don't really keep around classic games and stuff very much, so I don't really keep around like Game Boy Advance games or Game Boy Color games or collect for anything that's like PS1 and older. That's just me personally. I know people out there love that kind of stuff, but that's just not me. So onto my PS2 games. It's kind of weird seeing like a demo disc here, but you guys have to understand that back in the day, I used to get hype over demo discs. Like if I saw a magazine had a demo disc, I would nag my parents on for weeks, literally weeks, to get that magazine so I could get that demo disc. Or you know, it's when I was younger. I'll admit it. I may have taken a couple of demo discs without paying for the magazine. That's such an awful thing to admit, but yeah, I may have taken a couple of demo discs without paying for the magazine. Sue me, okay? Demo discs were awesome back in the day. Like, we used to literally just sit around in a circle and play demos all day, talking about school and stuff. So good. Devil May Cry, as you can probably imagine, I'm a really big fan of the Devil May Cry series. I haven't played very much of 4. I remember buying it once, and then I think I ended up selling it almost immediately, but Devil May Cry 1 is really, really good. Devil May Cry 2 is not good, actually. It's actually the worst in the series, in my opinion, if we're not counting DMC. Then Devil May Cry 3 is a masterpiece. You might be wondering, Kudou, why don't you have it there if it's a masterpiece? So you get a fun little story time. There was a girl that I was interested in a while ago, actually. I think like 5 years ago, maybe even longer. And I was really interested in her, and she was really interested in me first, and then I got interested in her. And she was curious about video games, and she had a PS2 lying around, but didn't really have any games for it. So I was like, oh my god, I know exactly what you're gonna love. And I gave her Devil May Cry 3, and I thought she would be okay because it's like not the easiest game, but she literally couldn't figure out how to get out of the first room. For those who haven't played Devil May Cry 3, it's literally just you. In the first level of the game, you're just trying to beat all the enemies, and that's it. And she couldn't beat it. Needless to say, we don't talk anymore. Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy. I have a lot of nostalgic feelings for this game. I loved this game as a kid. You guys have no idea. I went through this game multiple times. I will say it's not as good now, but I'll also defend it in saying that the combat system is something you have to get used to, because when you aim your gun, you have sort of like an aim assist kind of thing, where if you just aim in the general vicinity of an enemy, you'll get this other hit marker that will home in on them, so you don't miss your shots, and that makes it feel a little bit too easy. And then the end of the game is just a complete waste of time for everybody involved. It pretty much takes everything you've been doing the entire game, throws it out the window, and gives you something completely unrelated to do for the last mission, which is a little disheartening. But when I played this game when I was younger, I actually really enjoyed it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. Might be seeing a whole lot of Dot Hack here. Dot Hack is, like I said before, it was one of my favorite classic game series. If you don't know what Dot Hack is, and you know what Sword Art Online is, you know what Dot Hack is. Dot Hack was sort of the original Sword Art Online, with better writing and better characters, I suppose. So essentially, this game emulates an MMO, and it doesn't do so very well. The first series really doesn't feel like an MMO at all. It feels like just a regular RPG, but they tried. And the story behind this game is essentially there's this AI program that's like I mean, essentially people are playing your game and they're going into comas because of the game, and you have to figure out why it's happening. There's a lot of like depth and mystery and intrigue in this game that I really enjoyed as a kid, even though I think a lot of it went over my head. But as an adult, I still really enjoy the series. The first one is really good. The second one is even better. The third one is where things start to get a little bit weird. I don't think I liked the third game as much. And then the fourth game is a really, really good game. It's a great way to end the series. I loved how they wrapped everything up. The other cool thing about this, if you don't know, is this was one of the first game series that I can think of where when you beat one game, this isn't like one game like a Final Fantasy game. They're all individual games, but when you beat one, you can carry your save data over to the next one and continue playing with the same save data. Really loved that system when I was a kid. It was just a cool idea. And it's not like they skimped out and made it like 1/4 of a game and then made you pay for it 4 times. No, each of these is like a full-length 40-hour RPG on its own, with side missions and stuff to do while you're waiting for the next one. Really, really fun series. Hope they bring this back one day. They brought back GU, so hope they bring this back one day too. GU is a masterpiece. Okay, they took everything that made Dot Hack good, and they made it so much better here, and then everything that was bad here they flipped away, and they just made these games gorgeous. The battle system is so good in this game, because they turned it into like a sort of an action-y kind of thing. Imagine going from like World of Warcraft to Terra or Vindictus. That's essentially what they did here, and it's so much fun. I love the main character, Haseo. He's one of my favorite video game characters of all time. What I recommend you guys do is go look up the opening cinematic of this game, specifically the part where he fights the PKs and he fights Tri-Edge. It's so beautiful. I love everything about this game series. Probably one of my favorite game series on the PS2. They actually re-released this game recently in a set called Last Recode, I think it was. Of course I bought that on PC. I had to have it. I haven't gone through it yet just because I haven't had a chance to really sit down and play a long RPG lately, but love it to death. You might be wondering, Kudou, kind of looks like you have 2 copies of the first game. I mean, the second game. And I do. I actually have copies of a lot of my games, and the Dot Hack games in particular. I have 2 copies of Dot Hack GU sitting around. I have 2 copies of each of these 2 games. What'll happen is, I don't know if you can see it from there. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit. You might notice that there's what looks like sticky residue on the game a little bit. That's because the store that I got this from was Game World, the game shop that I was talking about before. And what they would do, the giant jerk-offs, they would put giant stickers on their games, and if you ripped the stickers off, it would leave this residue that says void on it to make sure that they didn't end up taking the games back. Like, the warranty for the game was void if you took the sticker off. But, you know, it's not like I ever wanted to return the games. I just didn't want the sticky stuff on it because, you know, they're so good. Gosh darn it, Game World, you ruined my childhood. But anyways, that happened, so whenever I found another copy of these games, I picked them up. The reason I have 2 copies each of these is because when I picked them up the first time, I always managed to get to GameStop at a time where they had these and they didn't have the cases for them. So what happened is I bought them the first time just to play them, and I bought them without cases, and then when I found them again at swap meets and stuff, I would buy them with the cases so that I had the cases. That's the story there. I also have the 3rd game, but it's in my PS2 and I forgot to take it out. Huh. Well, I'm not doing it now. Ed, Netty, this game sucks. This game is probably the worst game I own on the PS2. So bad. I don't know how it even got out there. It's, oh my god, it's a travesty. Such a great cartoon to be ruined by such an awful game. Fatal Frame 2. So you guys get to find out something interesting about Kudou today. Fatal Frame 2 is the only video game that still to this day legitimately scares me. I'm not trying to make myself sound like a big man, like, oh, no game scares me, I'm just so strong. Video games can still scare me to this day, but if I play through a game over and over again and I know what's coming, they don't scare me as much. I mainly just steel myself so that I can fight back. Fatal Frame 2, if I pop this game in and I go through it, I still legitimately get really terrified when I play it. It's a masterpiece. If you've never played the Fatal Frame games before, let me explain them, I guess. Essentially, you go through these Japanese towns, and there are ghosties, and you fight the ghosties by taking their picture with cameras and posting them to Instagram. No, not that last part, of course, but you take pictures of ghosts, and that's actually a really genius game mechanic for a horror game, because the ghosts take the most damage when they're about to attack you, and they look the scariest when they're about to attack you. So you actually have to, like, look them in the eyes as they're trying to kill you so that you know when to attack them, and you get the full effect of how scary the ghosts are, and this game in particular is definitely the most hardcore of the games in my opinion. Like, the first game tried to be hardcore, but it was a little cheesy. The second game mastered it. The third game, things got a little silly, so didn't really take it seriously anymore. The fourth game, it was a really cool looking game. The ghosts weren't that scary, and then the one for the Wii U is it's a complete arcade fest. It's not scary at all. And anyways, Final Fantasy X, I've given my thoughts on this. You can actually see the sticker now. Yeah, check it out, guys. Game World. Yeah. You guys want to complain about the GameStop stickers? At least they didn't stick them on the disc. Jerks. Still angry about that, by the way, Game World. I'm coming for you. 10-2, as I said before, best combat system. Now that you know the truth, you can spread the truth if you want to, or you can deny the truth if you'd like to. You don't have to acknowledge the truth, but the truth is there before you to take. Full Metal Alchemist, Broken Angel. Full Metal Alchemist is one of my favorite anime of all time. It's always in my top 3. Edward Elric is my favorite anime character of all time, if you've ever been curious, I guess. So I bought these games just because they were Full Metal Alchemist and I had to have them. These games are really fun. I still pop these in and play them every once in a while today. They're really good. They're beat-em-up games where you can find like alchemy components and then like model them into weapons. So like if you're fighting somebody and you see like a rock, you can go over to it and hold the alchemy button and it'll let you know what weapons you can turn it into, and then you turn it into a weapon and you beat up dudes with the weapon. It's really fun, and the story in this game is, while not obviously not the greatest, it's actually really competent and I enjoyed it a lot. If you ever happen to see these at like a flea market or something, they're surprisingly good. Maybe give them a shot. I had the second one here too, Crimson Elixir. It's not as good as the first one. It's a little bit prettier, but the combat feels really clunky. Surprised me with how good they are. Grim War, this is actually an old classic. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite games on the system or anything, but this game is actually the first RTS that I ever played, and a lot of people don't want to give it credit as an RTS, which, screw you guys, it's an RTS. It's a real-time strategy game, even if you don't want to acknowledge it. If you've never played this game before, it's a lot like a mixture of Harry Potter and Groundhog's Day, where you are this magic student, magical girl essentially, and you're going to this Harry Potter-like school, and at the end of your first week, something happens to destroy the entire school, but you gain the power to go back in time to the first day that you went to school, and you have to keep reliving the cycle over and over again until you can figure out how to stop the school from getting destroyed. And every time you do the cycle over, you actually get a little more of the story, and the game goes in some really interesting directions. The gameplay of the game is like you have this giant tower, and you're building little warp points for monsters to come out of, and it's just really fun and unique. Look up the gameplay to this if you've never heard of it. Inuyasha and the Cursed Mask, I think that's called, right? Inuyasha, The Secret of the Cursed Mask. This game is cursed, okay? And I'm not talking about it being a bad game or anything. This game is legitimately haunted by something. I swear to God it is. I've sold this game 4 times, guys. Listen to me. I've sold this game to Game World 4 times. And every time I look in my game collection, I find it again. And it's not like I go back and I buy it over and over again, you know? It's not like I buy it, sell it, 4 or 5 times. Like, every single time, I know for a fact I've sold this game. Like, even one of the times I remember having a conversation with the Game World employee about this game, and then, like, 3 months later, I was looking through my stuff, and my blood went cold, and I saw it again. Have no idea how this game kept appearing in my collection, but eventually I just gave up and I kept it. I can't explain it. I legitimately can't explain it. Kingdom Hearts, the original, I'm actually pretty proud about having this copy here because it's the Black Label version. Not that that makes it rare or anything, but you know, it feels good, man, to have one of the first copies, you know, and not have the greatest hits version. I think I have the greatest hits version lying around somewhere. In fact, I know I do. It's probably in my other game case, but feels good, man. Feels good. Kingdom Hearts 2, and of course, it's got that freaking sticker on it. Of course it does. Ruins. The only reason that I still have this and I haven't gotten another one is because I haven't found another Black Label. When I find another Black Label, I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna break this one in half for sure. Oddly enough, I actually like Kingdom Hearts 1 more than 2, and I know everybody's gonna call me a contrarian for that one too, but it's not because the gameplay is not better. The gameplay is definitely better in Kingdom Hearts 2, but the story in number 1 was much more impactful in my opinion. Both masterpieces, of course, both some of the best games ever made, but I don't know, guys, it's tough. Red Ninja, this game sucks, but I really wanted to like it. I have it as more part of my collection because I still sort of believe in it a little bit, like maybe if I go back one day and play it again, I'll love it. And it's funny, looking back, the girl that you play as actually looks a little bit like the teacher from Persona 5. You guys see that? You guys see Kawakami there? I kind of see Kawakami there, but anyways, oh, we got real off topic with that one. So Red Ninja is about this girl who was strung up and left to die in Edo, Japan, and she gets found by a clan of ninjas and taught how to be a ninja. And it's sort of like a Tenchu game, but the mechanics sort of revolve around wires. So like when you're fighting an enemy, like you have to like hook wires around them to stun them and kill them. Very interesting ideas, very poorly implemented. It doesn't play well at all. Shadow of Destiny, this is one of my favorite games on the system. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody makes fun of this game, and yes, it is a little silly, but as far as narrative, story-driven games go, one of my favorites of all time. The atmosphere, the characters, just everything about this game I love. I also love all the implications and stuff. There's a lot of subtle like hints that maybe there's more going on to the story that you don't get to know. Some mysteries get left unsolved with this game, but they're not mysteries that make you angry. They're mysteries that really make you think and really make you second question some of the stuff you do. To anybody who doesn't know the story to this game, essentially you play as this guy named Ike who gets murdered on his way home from work, I think it is, and you die. You start the game as a corpse pretty much, and you have to meet up with this guy in the afterlife who calls himself the Homunculus, and for reasons that you don't know immediately, he has a very keen interest in you. So he actually brings you back to life and gives you a time machine so that you can go back and prevent your death. And
that's what the game is, essentially. It's somebody is trying their best to kill you, and you have to keep going back in time to stop that person from killing you. This game does get really silly. I'll be completely honest here. It's not a serious game at all. Like, it tries to be, and there are a lot of very interesting things about it, but let me give you an example, okay? For one of the murders, you go to this park, and this person is in a tree, and then, like, jumps down and kills you. So think for a second about how you would solve that problem. Okay, I'll give you a second. Okay, are you done? Well, okay, let's go over what some of your answers could be. It could be like, don't go to the park. That's a good one. Could be try to cut down the tree branches. Could be try to inform the authorities so that they can go into the tree and get the person before they kill you. Lots of very logical answers. Do you know what the actual solution is? You have to go back 200 years into the past. You have to disguise yourself as like the mayor's assistant or something. You have to find the person who planted the tree in the first place, and then you have to convince them to never plant a tree there as long as they live. Brilliant. That's the solution to the puzzle. So I can see where this game gets a little bit of heat, but I still like it. I still think it's a lot of fun. Shaman King, this is a very weird game. It's a mix between a tactical strategy game and a fighting game, because it starts out on like a tactical board, but then when you get close to somebody and you initiate an attack on them, you go into a fighting game and you just play a little fighting game round with them. The controls are really clunky, definitely not the greatest, but I think it's pretty fun, and Shaman King is sort of one of my low-key favorite animes, so I'm almost out of sweet tea. That fact makes me very, very sad. Ultimate Board Game Collection, I mean, it's shovelware. What do you want out of it? I only bought it because I thought it had a couple of interesting looking games on it, and it was like $4, so the problem with games like this is they work much better on a handheld, so that everybody can just sort of lay back on a couch and pay attention to their own screen. It's too much work to put this into a PS2 and have two people play it. Warriors of Might and Magic, I only bought this game because of a game called Messiah, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. So I'm not going to talk about this game, because this game is just a very generic, mediocre game with a sticker on it. And I'll talk about not Heroes, I'm stupid. Dark Messiah of Might and Magic instead. Dark Messiah of Might and Magic is one of my favorite games ever, because it's so bad. It is so bad that it is unintentionally the funniest game experience I've ever had. A friend of mine named Faust used to play that game and let me watch him. That game is ridiculous. Okay, let me set the scene for you. At the end of the first level, you get on a boat, and he played as an assassin, and he hid behind a box. Keep in mind, that's all he did. He went and he hid behind a box, and one of the enemies climbed up the ladder that he used, stood at the end of it for a second, and then yelled really loudly and fell over dead. No explanation. He never attacked him. He never spotted him. This game was ridiculously bad. I don't even know how it got past testing. It's so bad. Another example is you go to this island full of orcs. And so he's getting chased around by a giant orc guy, and he goes behind a log and just sort of crouches down. And then the orc that was chasing him runs up to him, scoots to the side of him, and then keeps going. So the orc ran into Faust and sidestepped Faust, and then continued his search for Faust. Let's see, what else happened? He got to this part with goblins, and he killed a goblin and then threw his body into a fire just for the meme. And then another goblin came up, stood in the fire, took damage from the fire while staring at the body, turned around, lost the body, and then found it again, looked at it again, and it just sort of kept spinning in circles while he was burning to death, and then died. And we were dying laughing at this point, man. This was the funniest thing ever, because he was just standing in the fire and killing himself, and he kept losing the body and then refinding it, so he never got a chance to escape. And then a third goblin shows up and does the exact same thing. So bad. And then, okay, I'll give you one more before we go. So he gets to this throne room that has like 5 guards lined up on each side, and he goes up and he assassinates one of them, because he's an assassin, obviously, that's what he does. So he kills one of them, and the guard that was standing next to the person he killed looks over at the dead body, and then hurriedly runs over to where the dead body was standing and stands in its place. Like, oh, we're gonna get in trouble if they find out he's sleeping on the job. And he just sort of runs over and stands in this place. It's so stupid, guys. And you might be wondering, Kudou, do they go into T-poses awkwardly? You bet your sweet bippy they go into T-poses awkwardly. So anyways, this game sucks. It's really boring and generic, but Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, if you can get your hands on the original 360 version, get some friends together, get some beers in you, and that game is so much fun. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists of the Roses. I got this game because everybody used to cream their pants over it when we were younger. I don't see the appeal of this game at all. I think it's just a very, very bad Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that tried to implement some interesting things. Maybe it's just because of the way I played it the first time, but I was not impressed. I've never liked this game ever, not a single time. I'll have to try it again one of these days, but from what I remember, I just hated it every second. Now we get to some PS1 stuff. Fun. I don't have as much of this because, like I said before, I've sold a lot of my stuff, and some of it's in storage. Crash Team Racing. This was my Mario Kart. I like this game more than Mario Kart. Maybe it's just an aesthetic thing, but this is the jam right here. So good. Very fun story mode too. Digimon World 3, my favorite of the Digimon World games. I have played the first 3, haven't played anything past that. Love this game to death. One of my greatest childhood memories. One of the first games I ever used Action Replay on, now that I think about it. Huh, interesting. Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22, bad Dragon Ball Z fighters. This is what we had back then, and we enjoyed it, but we didn't understand anything about fighting games back then. It was a travesty the way we used to play, man. Like, whenever we had to do the forward, down, forward motion, we didn't understand what that meant because it just looked like a Z. So we essentially just like mashed this. We just mashed the button. No, I've got a controller right here. Essentially, whenever that happened, we just went like this to get it to work. Oh, to be young again. So good. Final Fantasy Anthology, this is 5. I don't really like Final Fantasy 5. If you do like it, then I completely understand. I didn't like it as much, but, you know, that's just me. Final Fantasy 6, that game I love. This is in my top 5 Final Fantasy games of all time. I know it's a little bit overhyped these days because everybody talks about how good it is, but Final Fantasy 6 is legitimately one of the best Final Fantasies ever made. And I've got 2 copies of it right here, see? It must be good. This is another one of the games that I bought multiple copies of. I don't even know why I have multiple copies. I think it's because I had, like, the original Greatest Hits version, and then I think I found a Black Label version sometime, and I ended up buying that too, but yeah. Tenchu 2. I love the Tenchu series on the PS2, because I got Wrath of Heaven, and Wrath of Heaven was some of the most fun stealth gameplay that I've ever played. Keep in mind I didn't play Metal Gear Solid, and I didn't play Siphon Filter, so that could change one day, but I love Tenchu Wrath of Heaven, so I figured, oh man, that's Tenchu 2. I'll probably like that game too. No. PS1 Tenchu is not as much fun as PS2 Tenchu. Let's just leave it at that, folks. Leave it at that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. This one is a good Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, and I'm glad this one gets some recognition because all of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Games that I've played, this is the one that I have the most fun with. I think it's really interesting how you play with all like low-level monsters that don't really have effects, and then you combine monsters to actually make good cards. I mean, it's kind of an easy game because, like, really once you figure out how to make Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon and you get yourself a couple of mountain cards, you essentially win every single duel in the game, but it's still a really fun game. Bakugan on the Wii, yes, I have this game multiple times. I'm telling you guys, Bakugan is great. Go buy a Bakugan game, okay? Buy 2 or 3 of them. Like, they give these things out in Cracker Jack boxes, okay? You'll find one. And when you do, get it, okay? Get it for the Kudou-kun memes, and just trust me that it's a good game. Zelda Twilight Princess, love this game. I don't understand why it gets so much hate. I think people are starting to come around now and not hate it as much, but I remember back when people were saying that Twilight Princess was awful and just like a really bad Ocarina of Time ripoff. No, no, no. Twilight Princess is just an amazing game in its own right. Skyward Sword, as you guys know, I've got sort of a deep, dark secret where I've never actually beaten any of the console Zelda games, except Majora's Mask. I did beat Majora's Mask, but I haven't beaten either of these two games. I only got to like the second dungeon in this game, and I was pretty much done. It's not because I necessarily hated it, but there was just nothing in the game that was interesting enough to like continuously hold my interest, so I'll have to go back and like really give this game another shot, but when I played it the first time, I just kind of got over it. One-Chanbara, Bikini Samurai Squad. Yes, I own the One-Chanbara games. I also have the one for the 360, and I had Z Chaos at one point, but I think I sold it. I love the One-Chanbara games. I know they're just sort of like raunchy humor, I guess, where it's just you're playing as a half-naked girl and you're slicing up zombies. Okay, like what more could you really want out of life? I think they're kind of like mindless fun. Okami, one of the best Zelda games ever made. Seriously, if you've never played Okami, get into it, because I have a feeling they're going to bring back the series with an Okami 2 soon on the Switch, okay? I'm calling it. If it happens, you heard it here first, folks, but it's seriously like Zelda with an old Japanese aesthetic. It's really, really good. Puss in Boots, I never even bothered putting this game into my Wii. I don't feel like I need to be playing Puss in Boots. I only got it because at Walmart, it was in a 2-in-1 deal with Bakugan, and I wanted Bakugan. So I got Bakugan and Puss in Boots, and I never played this. This could be a hidden gem too. I mean, if it was with a masterpiece like Bakugan, it's probably pretty good. Resident Evil Archive, it's okay. I mean, it's Resident Evil 1. What more could you want? Red Steel 2. Red Steel 1 sucked, but I beat it. I don't even remember why I was so infatuated with Red Steel 1. I knew it sucked the entire time I played it, but I just had to keep playing it. Red Steel 2 is amazing. It's so much fun. It's not the kind of game that I would ever go back and like play continuously, but going through it that first time is actually a really good experience. If you happen to not know what Red Steel is, it's essentially like a samurai western where you play as a samurai, but you also use guns. And since you use the Wiimote and nunchuck, you can actually like use your sword, and it's very precise and it feels really good. So if you've never played it before, I mean, we're in Switch era now. This is a little too old for me to suggest it to anybody, but it was a good game. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. This is just like a Marvel vs. Capcom game, but it's got Tatsunoko characters. If you don't know what Tatsunoko is, it's a company that makes shows like Power Rangers, but not really. The characters in this game are really interesting because they're based on some really small Capcom franchises, and also the Tatsunoko characters. Imagine like Power Rangers with interesting weapons. Like one of them here uses a gun, and one of them uses a yo-yo, and they're just really interesting. And then on the Capcom side, we've got characters like Soki from Onimusha, which was really fun. I really wish they would bring him back, because Onimusha Dawn of Dreams was such a great game. And then it's got like the Mega Man from Mega Man Legends. It's a really fun game. I really like this game a lot. 2 copies of Wii Sports. Kudou, why do you have 2 copies of Wii Sports? It's because I got Wii Sports with my first Wii, and then I ended up selling my Wii to somebody because they wanted to, they needed a Wii and they wanted to play Monster Hunter, so I sold them my Wii and Monster Hunter, and I ended up buying a new Wii eventually. I think I ended up getting the black Wii, and this came with it, obviously, so that's that. Wii Sports Resort, it's fine. It's more Wii Sports. Like, really, what do you want? Going back here, we've got a few Wii U games. You'll notice that I've sold pretty much all of my Wii U stuff, except for Super Smash Bros., which isn't in here. But, I mean, Super Smash Bros. Is kind of like a permanent spot in the Wii U. Like, why would you ever take Smash Bros. Out of your Wii U? We used to call the Wii U the Smash Brothers playing machine. And then before Smash Brothers came out, we just said that it needed a content update to actually work, and that wasn't out yet. the Wii U and Smash Brothers were made for each other. I'm never gonna get rid of Smash Brothers, but Smash Switch, it's gonna happen. Epic Mickey 2 is okay. I bought this because I wanted to play it multiplayer with somebody, and that person decided not to play it with me, so sad face, but I played through a little bit of it, and it was okay, I guess. Mario Kart 8, I bought this because my friends wanted it. I've never really had an interest in Mario Kart personally. It's fine, it's fun to play for like an hour or something. Like if I'm on a lunch break or something and I can pop this into my system, then I'll have a little bit of fun with it, but just not my thing. Zombie U is okay. I honestly think the only reason I still have it is because when I wanted to sell it, it wasn't really worth anything. But I mean, it's Zombie U, okay? It was fun for a little while, but it got old real fast. I think all of my best Wii U games are virtual games that I didn't pay for. Heaven's Word, I don't know why that's in here, but Final Fantasy XIV, huge Final Fantasy XIV fan. So, I think that's about it for the games I'm going to show you. Let me get on to some collectibles. Maybe I'll show you guys my Switch games and stuff too. Actually, yeah, let's do that. So, well, this is the case that I keep all my stuff in. My girlfriend actually got this for me, so thank you very much to her. It's just got pins and stuff on it. I do have more pins, but the original bag that I had was a lot smaller, and this is all I could fit on it. So I moved all those pins over here, and now that they're more spread out, I need to put more pins on it. I love pins, I collect them, so if you ever see me in real life and you want to give me something you don't know what to give me, find me an interesting pin for my bag and I'll put it on here. It's so pretentious, telling people, no, when you run into me, you know, if you wish to give a gift to your lord, then give me pins. I don't know how I have any fans. So I'm just gonna put some games out here, and I guess we'll talk about them, and I'll put them back. I don't have a lot of my old games and stuff, because, like, I'll be completely transparent here. When I got my, my Ace card, which is pretty much like an R4 chip, I sold a lot of my other stuff, but I kept some stuff around. So for the DS, I've got Lock's Quest, which is a really basic shovelware, strategy game, but I actually had a lot of fun with it, so I ended up not selling it. Pokemon Soul Silver, my favorite Pokemon game. I just didn't have the heart to sell this because it is my favorite. Lux Pain, there's actually an interesting story about this. So Lux Pain is a visual novel, and it's really interesting actually because it's about this guy who has to pretend to be a high school student because there's this weird like psychic anomaly that's gonna destroy the world or something like that, and this game is so freaking long. I think I put like 70 hours into this and I was nowhere near the end. So I ended up stopping at some point. I really want to go back and play this again, but I just don't know if I have the heart to go through all of it again. Because I know I can't just jump back in where I was. That was like 5 years ago. I'm going to have to start the story over. But the reason I kept this cartridge is because there was a friend of mine named Lan who I told him that I was going to let him borrow this one day, and then he never picked it up. And then I ended up keeping it forever just because, I don't know, man. It's like I promised to let him borrow this for so long that I just can never sell it now because, like, I'll always remember that, like, I made him that promise and he never fulfilled it. So, I don't know. Lan, if you're watching, it's here still. Pokemon Black, I don't know why I still have this. I really don't need it anymore, but I still do. I should sell it. And then, oh god, Kingdom Hearts Recoded. I think, right? Yeah. Kingdom Hearts Recoded, baby. The worst Kingdom Hearts game by far. Bar none. Here are my 3DS games. I actually have more 3DS games than this. They're locked away somewhere and I can't find them right now. Spirit Camera. Spirit Camera is a Fatal Frame game. They just didn't put the Fatal Frame name on it, but the name of the actual story mode is Fatal Frame. This is a very interesting game, and the reason I have never sold it is because it comes with a little journal, and you use the journal to play the game, and you can't play the game without the journal. And I want to keep the journal as part of my game collection, so I can't just sell the game without the journal because it's required to play. Bravely Second. I wanted to keep one of the Bravely games around, even though now that my 3DS is modded, I can just rip the games and rip the save files and keep them forever digitally. But I wanted to keep one of the Bravely games just because they're such a masterpiece. I love both of the Bravely games. I think they're both really good. I like the first one a little bit more than the second one, but the first one was worth a lot of money. I think I got offered like $35 at GameStop for it, and I just couldn't turn it down. So I ended up selling it, but I did keep this one. Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Obviously, like anybody who knows about the hacking scene knows why I have this game. It's not because I actually wanted Ocarina of Time. It's because this used to be back in the day an entry point to actually hacking your console, and that's what I needed it for. Now that I don't really need it for that anymore, I could get rid of it, but I still kind of want to keep it around, you know, just in case. And it's kind of just a little memory, you know, like, hey, this is how I used to hack my system back in the day. Oh, so cute. Love Plus. This is a Japanese-only game. It's actually my favorite dating sim, and you guys know I've played a lot of dating sims. I've played a lot of visual novels. This is by far the best one ever made, in my opinion. It's a 3DS game, right? And you have 3 girls to choose from, which might not sound like a lot, but the game really opens up when you actually like get into a relationship with one of them. See, the way it starts out is you're just playing like a visual novel, pretty much, and you're trying to raise your stats and go on like dates and try to trigger events with these girls. And then when you actually get one of them to confess with you, the game turns completely around and turns into like an Animal Crossing style game where you actually do stuff with the girls in real time. So for example, like if you tell the girl what time you go to bed, then you can actually like talk to her before you go to bed, and she'll actually tell you good night, and you can use her as an alarm clock and have her wake you up in the morning with a phone call or something. You can set times to go on dates with these girls, and then actually, like, you have to go on a date with them at that time or they get angry at you. Like, for example, if you tell them you want to go out to eat somewhere Friday at 5 o'clock, then that means on Friday, real time, on Friday at 5 o'clock, you've scheduled a date with this girl. And if you don't go, then she gets really angry at you and you lose points and stuff. So it's just really interesting for that. I stayed really up to date with this game for about 4 or so months, and I haven't gone back to it yet. Rinko's probably really mad at me, but what are you gonna do? This game is actually a legendary meme among the dating sim fans, because somebody in Japan legally married one of the characters from this game, and I'm talking like papers were involved, kind of legally married. It was Nene, the big sister type girl. And it was funny because this happened at a time where we were still arguing about whether or not gays should be able to get married here in America. So gay people can get married here in America, but in Japan there were people literally marrying figments of their imagination. Which just rubbed salt in the wound. It was so good. This 3DS version here, I know I'm talking a lot about this game, I promise I'll stop soon, but I just want to say one more thing about it. This 3DS version is actually an enhanced version of the DS version. The DS version actually has an English patch, so if anything I'm talking about sounds interesting, you can play this game right now by going and finding the English patched version. Nico Blog should have it, in fact. Go there, that's where I go for all my translations and stuff. But this feature, this game has so many features that make it insane. It's got face and voice recognition, so if you hand your 3DS to another person, your girl will actually recognize that it's not you and introduce herself to your friends. It's got augmented reality, so if you're like sitting at a restaurant or something, you can actually set your 3DS up and have the girl like look like she's sitting across from you and actually have a conversation with her. Obviously you have to know Japanese to do it, but still, like, as far as dating sims go, this is like so far ahead of its time, and this game came out like 6 years ago. It's crazy. I have a random game for the PSP. I don't know why. It's Nights in the Nightmare. I really don't know why I still have this game. It's not a bad game or anything. It's pretty good. It's a little too complicated for its own good, though. Like, you have to go through like an hour-long tutorial just to understand how this game works, because there's just so much stuff going on. Like, every time I want to get into this game, I always sit down, do the tutorial, and then, like, I get so burnt out on the tutorial that I don't get very far in the actual game itself, so... Yeah, it's kind of a problem. It's on the 3DS too. No, not the 3DS. It's on the regular DS too, and it's probably better on the DS, but... Yeah, I just wish you didn't have to take a college course to understand how this game works, because it'd probably be really fun otherwise, if they just simplified it a little bit, you know? So on to Switch games. I'm still sort of on a mission to collect as many Switch games as I can. I actually had these huge aspirations to collect all of the games for the Switch and have it be the first console that I have a complete collection for as games come out. I thought I'd be doing a lot better financially, but I'm not, so as you can tell, I'm not even close. I don't think I even have a tenth of the games that have come out for it so far, but one day, you know, I still believe. Disgaea 5, I already talked about this game a little bit. It's probably my third favorite Disgaea of the games I've played. Got really far in it, but I didn't end up beating it. Again, it's just sort of a thing that happens with me, I guess. Pokken Tournament, really fun fighting game, I guess. I definitely don't love it enough to get the DLC, but it's pretty good in its own regard, as long as you're not playing it for too long. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, oh... I've got a video brewing for this, man. It's okay, and that's all I can say about it. People who are saying that this game is amazing and saying it's like the best RPG on the Switch, guys, you've deluded yourself. This game is not a great game by any stretch of the imagination. It's a good game. It's a competently made game. It's got some great elements to it, but it's definitely not the game everybody says it is. Oh my god. Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This is a surprisingly fun game. I had a lot of fun with it. I haven't done any of the side content yet, but one day I will. Very, very, very fun strategy game. Has Been Heroes, aka Colossal Failure. This game sucks. I've given this game so many chances, and what really hurts about this is I was so excited for this game. It was a $20 game coming out on the Switch on release, so obviously a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, well, of course it sucks, but I thought it looked really fun, and I was like, wow, a budget game coming out on the Switch, that actually looks pretty fun. I'll go ahead and pick that up as my first game and have a blast. I did not have a blast. There was almost a blast because I almost killed myself over how bad this game is, but it's just not a good game at all. So bad. Fire Emblem Heroes, I've done a full review of this game. It's fine. It's good. It's not as good as Hyrule Warriors, but all of these Musou games that are based on Dynasty Warriors, but not actually Dynasty Warriors, just end up really good somehow. Here there's some DLC coming out for it soon. Probably not going to buy any of the DLC. Sonic Forces, the very definition of an average, mediocre game. It's not an awful game. It's not a good game. It's just somewhere in the middle. Full review of that up too, if you ever want to see it. Rayman Origins, I actually hesitated to get this game for the longest time, and when it was on the Switch, I was like, oh well, I'm gonna collect all the Switch games, so I need to buy that game now. This is a really good game. I am kicking myself for not getting into this game sooner. Especially having it on the Switch, though, is so much fun to just like go around, pick up on a random level, and play through it. Some of the tightest mechanics that I've ever played with in a platformer. Such a masterpiece. So that's pretty much it for all the games. I guess I'll go over some of my collectibles, and then we're hitting the 2-hour mark here, so this is probably going to be a little closer to 2.5 hours. Oops. Whoops. I guess you gotta be a real Kudou fan to watch this video. Thank you all so much for stopping by, if you're still here, by the way. So, as far as amiibos go, these are the only two that I have. I have Shulk because a friend of mine got him for me, since he's my favorite Smash Brothers character, and I love Xenoblade Chronicles. And then I've got Wedding Dress Princess Peach, because she's like the original Nintendo waifu, and she's in a wedding gown. How could you not own this, man? It's too legendary not to own, just for the memes alone. I used to be really crazy about the amiibos. Like, I was trying to collect every single one of them at one point. Back when they were still releasing the Smash Brothers ones, I had almost all of them, but then they started releasing exclusives. Like, they had a GameStop exclusive and like a Best Buy exclusive, and when I realized what Nintendo was doing there, I realized there was not a chance that I was ever going to be able to collect every single one of them, so I just gave up collecting them altogether. Here's the case to the Persona Q Special Edition that I have. I have the cards around here somewhere too, but they're in one of my boxes and I don't feel like fishing them out. Special Edition for Fire Emblem Warriors. Take our stuff out here. Cute little soundtrack collection here. Very nice, very nice. There's a neat little like chart here that shows where all the characters come from. And then of course this masterpiece of a collection of cards here. You guys know me, Kudou-kun's all about the cards. So they're very shiny, very nice. The only problem is they're so like I don't know if you can tell, they're not really picking up on the camera, but they're like holographic. So I don't really want to ever take them out because I really don't want the holographic part of them to get damaged ever. But they're so pretty, guys. You have no idea. If I ever find a way to display these, I'm gonna be so happy. And they come in this like really pimp little box here, so you can literally just put this on your coffee table and be like, "Oh, would you like to see my Fire Emblem cards here? Aren't they beautiful?" Oh, what a meme! What a meme! I did not think this through because now I have to put everything back. It's okay, guys. I got this. We'll just spend some time getting to know each other while I do this. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? You guys doing okay? Oh, that's good to hear. Okay, we got it. I've got the box for the Heavensward Collector's Edition here. It's very messed up because I use it as storage nowadays, but I got the Heavensward Collector's Edition. Very happy I got that. In fact, I've also got the book here, and it's pretty nice. I don't think the art in Final Fantasy 15 is so great that you really need the art book, but I mean, it's cool. Art books are always cool in my opinion. I've got the collector's stuff for Final Fantasy Type 0 because I got the collector's edition, but I don't really know where the box is. I'm actually very concerned. I don't know why I would have taken these out of the box. But I have this. The manga is around here somewhere too, but I'm not seeing it. I might have forgot to grab it, which is a-okay. It's fine. I just know that I got the collector's edition of Type 0. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I know I was just bad talking Xenoblade Chronicles a second ago, but it's not like I hate the game. I like the game just fine. It's just I just don't feel like it's quite as good as everybody hyped it up to be. I've got this beautiful book here. I haven't even taken it out of the package yet because I don't really want to damage it, but I'm sure the artwork in here is glorious. And then of course, little soundtrack. Oh, it's adorable. Honestly, I think the box is probably one of the coolest collectibles that the game actually came with. Now that I think about it. Although I'm sure the art book is really cool too. Set this to the side here. Oh, I've got the collector's edition of Bravely Second here, of course. I honestly got the first Bravely Default on a whim, and I'm so glad I did because, my god, what a beautiful set of games, you know what I'm saying? There's the soundtrack. I love how they have this as the soundtrack. It's like the Three Musketeers characters. If you've never played the game before, you don't know why that's funny, but just trust me when I say it's really funny. I actually have the case. Is there anything in here? Not really, no, but there's the case to the game. It's one of the few 3DS games I actually kept my case for, I guess. Most of them are in storage. And then this art book I haven't taken out either. It's holographic too. I don't think you can see it, but god dang, man. Oh, RPGs, man. RPGs have like the coolest special editions of any kind of game. They're so awesome. I'm not even going to put this one away. I'm going to keep this one to the side and I'll put it away later because it's taking way too long. I kept this. It's the box to my Majora's Mask 3DS because I knew I knew at some point my 3DS would get really messed up, and I really wanted to keep the box to remember it by, and it has. By the way, this is what my 3DS looks like now. You can tell that the paint is chipping away, and let's look at the, oh god, you guys are gonna puke. You guys are gonna straight up puke when you see this. Yeah, it's not in good. It's not in good condition. The battery's exposed right here. I've had to replace the battery before. The paint's almost completely off. I actually tried to get like a repo case for this to keep the Majora's Mask vibe going, but the seller that was supposed to sell it to me told me that they couldn't get it through customs or something. So, I mean, rip me, I guess. And to be fair, okay, I kind of consider that a battle scar, because I just use it so much. I'm just constantly pulling it in and out of my bag or my pocket that it's messed up. You know, it just comes from a lot of use. And let me just get on to the last collector's edition I have on hand right now, the Love Plus collector's edition. Funny thing about this, there were 3 different collector's edition, one for each of the girls that came out. The Nene one was $100. Then the Tanaka one was like $80. The original game itself was $70, and this, for whatever reason, was $50. Even though it was a collector's edition, it was cheaper than the original game. Don't understand that to this day, especially considering Rinko is best girl, but yeah, I don't know why people don't like Rinko. She's so adorable. Looks like I have the case to this one too. Is anything in here? No. Okay. There's nothing in here, but yeah, I've got the case to this one too. Nice. What a mem. What a mem. And this actually comes with 2 art books. You've got one art book here, which is just the generic art book that comes with art of, I guess, just like all the different girls and scenes in the game. This one came with all of the collector's editions, if I'm not mistaken. Just in case you guys are confused. Actually, no, I'll show you guys in a second. And then it comes with one specialized art book just for the girl whose collector's edition you got. Let's just go through here real quick. So this one is Rinko. This is my preferred girl of the set. I think she's the most adorable. She's like a she's like kind of like a distant, I don't really want to say like goth or punk girl, but she's sort of got that like faraway look in her eyes, and she's, I don't know, she's adorable. She's great. Love her to death. And then, one sec, let me just go through here, see if I can find a good picture of all 3 of the girls just for reference. This is pretty good. So this is all 3 of the girls. This one's Nene. This is the one that officially is married to a guy in Japan. So she's kind of off limits. If you ever date her, you're technically making her cheat on her husband. Tanaka, fish out of water, came from a rich, high society family, doesn't really understand daily life, and then of course my chick right there. Okay, so that's all of the special editions I have on hand. I guess I'll just go over some. Oh, no, technically it's not. I also have the box for Catherine. I actually still have all the stuff that came with Catherine. It was good stuff. It was underwear and a shirt, and I still wear the shirt regularly. And then this has a bunch of just random crap in it. I use this as storage too, kind of. Oh boy, let's... Ooh. Okay, here are the cards that came with Final Fantasy Type 0. If you don't know, the main character Final Fantasy Type 0 fights with cards, and these are replicas of the cards he uses. The postcards that came with the Day 1 edition of Final Fantasy 15. Soundtrack for Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus, one of the best games on the Vita, and nobody understands. The Code Princess soundbook. I said soundbook, I'm stupid. It's like a little art book and like a soundtrack. Code Princess is actually a really bad game, but it was rare for a while, so I guess I just kept that to show that I had a rare game at once. The Disgaea 4 art book. This one is worth having because Disgaea 4 is such a masterpiece. The One-chan-bara Bikini Samurai Squad Z2 Chaos. This is an art book, and obviously because it was like an erotica game. I say erotica, it's not like an erotica game, but I mean it does have this in it, so I mean, you know, whatever. Hope I don't get in trouble with YouTube over that one.
So, like I was saying before, Agarist War came out with a bunch of really weird special editions, and I don't have all the stuff with me on hand, but I do have this from Agarist Zero. One of these is a set of tarot cards that are based on some of the stuff in the game, and then one of them is a deck of playing cards. And I don't really feel like busting them out and getting a mess here because we're already 2 hours into this thing. I kind of want to start wrapping this up pretty soon. I do have a meeting to go to tonight. What else do I have? I really don't have anything else. I think I'm going to go ahead and just stop that there. But as a bonus theme, somebody was talking about the Sailor Moon card game. Sailor Moon's my very first anime ever, so when I heard they had a card game, I had to own it just for collector's value. My box actually got really messed up. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I used to have a pristine box of the Cheap Player starter set. I don't have it anymore because my box got smashed, but it is unopened. I have all of the starter decks. I have a bunch of the booster packs. I've got, pretty much, I have almost a full set of cards. I think I'm only missing 10, and once I have them, I'll have the full set of Sailor Moon trading cards. The game is Pokemon. Honestly, the game sucks real bad. It's just a really bad version of Pokemon, if you were curious, but that's where that stands. It's just really cool to have since it was my first anime and all. Okay, guys, we've been together for over 2 hours now. I do have a lot more stuff, but I can't just stay here for 5 hours and go over all my stuff, and nobody would want to watch that anyway. But hey, you know, if this video does really well, maybe in a few months when I collect some more stuff, I'll do another thing. Or maybe now that I have this little kids table here, I can start doing some unboxing videos. Who knows? Who knows, guys? This little kids table kind of opens up the world. But anyways, thank you all so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like. Those things really do help me out. If you enjoyed the video, or if you have any thoughts on the video, leave them in the comment section below. Normally ask a little question to show that you made it to the end of the video. I guess this time I'll ask, oh geez. What's your favorite underrated RPG? That's a good one. What is your favorite underrated RPG? Leave that in the comment section below. Maybe I'll even get a chance to play it. And, I mean, I can't imagine anybody not inside of my fan base watch this video, but if you did, subscribe, I guess, to stay up to date on the latest Kudou news. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Bye!